Hi everyone, I'm Liz and welcome back to Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch for Flosstube episode 10. I'm going to start with questions and comments this week. I released 2 videos last week, my regular Flosstube episode 9 on Sunday and then also a whip parade on Wednesday. Just in case you haven't seen it and you want to check it out, I run through all of my current cross-stitch projects that I'm working on. So I had a bunch of comments and questions on those 2 videos last week. So let's dive into questions first. And the first thing that I want to address is the stitching in the right holes of linen. I really didn't mean to suggest that anyone is doing anything wrong. I think there's kind of a long-standing recommendation that you start your crosses on linen next to a vertical thread, and that will supposedly, make your stitches lay a little nicer. I don't know. There's some different thoughts behind it, and I'm gonna link the article that I read so you can take a look at it and see if you want to try it. I will say I don't think anybody is cross-stitching wrong. I think as long as you're consistent on your linen, all your stitches look the same, you've done it right. It's perfect. And somebody even did leave me a comment with a link. I think it's Jean Farish. I'll put the link below, where she kind of walks through the myth of the vertical thread and why it's not really a rule that you have to start next to a vertical thread. So that was super interesting to read. I think what I was trying to get across with my comment is just that I've gotten so used to doing it a certain way now that when I revisited that old project and tried to stitch a slightly different way, it was really hard for me and I didn't like doing it. I stitch in hand and I'm really everyone has to be visual. Everyone's a visual stitcher. That's a dumb comment. I think, how do I want to phrase this? I think for me, when I'm staring at my stitches and counting and sewing, it's easy for me now to look for those vertical threads, and it makes it easier for me to count and see where I'm at now that I know the positioning of the threads and I'm used to the way that I stitch. So that's why it was so hard for me to try to revisit that old project, which is definitely not getting thrown out or tossed away. I'm gonna frog those few little stitches I showed you and frame it as is, and probably give it to my niece, Mel, if you're watching, to little Isla, for her room, because it's all little kids' storybooks, which I think, little fairy tales, which is really cute. So anyways, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that comment I made in my last video, and I will definitely put the link to the article that I read about starting next to a vertical thread, and then I'll put the link that somebody shared with me about the myth of the vertical thread and why it doesn't really matter. So read both, and then whatever you're doing is fine, honestly. I hope I didn't freak out too many people about that. So anyways, that was my first comment or first question that I wanted to address. The next question I got came from Melba and several others actually, who asked about my project bags. A couple of people asked if I sell them. I don't. I have a full-time job and cross-stitching is my other full-time job. So no, I don't have any time to make project bags for myself, let alone to make them to sell, but I appreciate your inquiries. But I got some questions about the pattern or method I use to make these and the difficulty level. So I will say I kind of made up my own pattern. I've made bags and sewn, since I was like 20. So I just kind of made up, a pattern based on looking at different methods on Pinterest. But I will say the Fat Quarter Shop has an excellent tutorial for how to make a vinyl front zipper bag. It looks slightly different. They have a little bit more fabric, I think, on the front than I do on mine, but it's an excellent tutorial. So I'm gonna link that below if you're interested in watching how to make these bags in a similar method. And then I will say, as far as skills needed, if you own a sewing machine and you're comfortable using it, this bag should not be a problem. The vinyl is fine to work with. The only trick is that you can't sew directly on it with, the foot of your sewing machine. So you sandwich it between fabric to sew on it, and it's fine, no problem at all. Your needle goes right through it. And then for a zipper, as long as you have a zipper foot and you're comfortable, you know, using your sewing machine, a zipper is no problem at all. So yeah, if you have a sewing machine and you're comfortable using it, you can definitely make a project bag. Yeah, so that's project bags. Okay, so Mary asks me how I store my floss, what I do with it when I'm done with a project, how I keep it organized. And I will say, since you can see it in my videos sometimes, I'll tell you how I store my floss. I don't think it's the best method at all. I probably need to find something else that's a little easier to look through, but for now, this is working for me. I would say I don't have a ton of floss stash. That's not something I tend to stash. I tend to buy for a project or for kitting, and then any leftovers from a project or duplicates get stored in this method behind me. So one second, let me grab something and then I'll talk more. Okay, so what I do is I use these binder rings, and this is what I store my floss on. So I have them sorted by brand. So this is a Classic Colorworks ring, here's a Weeks ring, and here's a Gast ring. And then once I have them sorted by brand, I sort them by color. It might be easier to do alphabetical. I think that's the preferred method that I've seen people do. But for me, when I'm digging through my stash to find colors, sometimes I'm looking for a specific color, but usually I'll know what color it is, so I can go to the reds and say, okay, where's my cherry cobbler? And then I'm like, okay, here it is, you know. But really, usually I'm going to these rings to make substitutions, and so I'm looking for something in the reds, pinks, blues, and I'll go to the color ring and start sorting through and seeing what colors I have. So I tend to store mine by brand name and then by kind of color. So these are kind of some of the reds, and then this is kind of golds and oranges. But yeah, and so then I just have a pegboard, and I have the little metal, you know, I don't know, peg hooks, and I just hang all these rings on there. And then for my silks, I don't have a ton of leftover silk. I just buy it for the project, but I do keep those in a Ziploc bag in a drawer, so they don't hang with the rest and get, you know, I don't know, kind of pushed around with the rest of the cottons. I tend to keep those separate. But yeah, I just love my colorful wall of thread, and I dig through it as I need it. And when I finish with a project, you can see on these where there's, you know, leftover thread. Obviously these have been used in a project, and then they just get put back on this ring to get pulled into a different project. If I have two of the same and they're both like partial under half used, then I combine them and get rid of one of the cards just to save space. So yeah, that's how I store my flosses. Okay, so another thing that came up in the comments was somebody asking to see the newspaper photo that I mentioned a few episodes ago, where I was in the local newspaper as a baby wearing a little pumpkin costume. And it started because I had shared with you this pattern that I had bought. And one of the reasons I bought it was for this little girl in the pumpkin costume down here. Because I had this costume as a little girl, or as a baby, and all of my sisters wore it too. Even some of my nephews have worn it. It's just, you know, a thing in our family, is this little stuffed pumpkin costume. And oh, I should have looked up your name, but an amazing woman in the comments suggested that I stitch just this little girl and frame it next to the newspaper clipping of me in the newspaper as a baby. And I thought that was such a cool idea. I'm definitely gonna do something like that. I'm not sure what yet, but I thought I would also show you the newspaper article, and I have it in plastics. Let's see if you can see it. There I am. In my little pumpkin jack-o'-lantern stuffed costume that I'm gonna have to ask my mom if she made it. It definitely felt like, when you look at it, it looks like a panel that you would have sewn yourself, but she's never said she sewed it I'll ask her. Mom, you can comment below if you can figure out how to comment. Whether, did you sew this? Did you make this costume? And then the caption, which I hadn't read in a while, I just pulled this out the other day and I was showing Rob and we were reading the caption and it was really making us laugh. So I'll read it to you real quick. It says, "Boo! Ghosts and goblins of all ages appeared Saturday night at the Halloween costume contest at the Jefferson City Shopping Center in Port Arthur. Elizabeth Talbot, 4 months of Port Arthur, was there to win Most Original Prize in the Underage 6 category. Her grandmother, Lois, carries her proud granddaughter, even though she may be a little pumpkin head." They called me a little pumpkin head. Yeah. Anyways, it's real cute, and even though this black and white photo makes it look like I was born in 1912, that's okay. I still love it. So eventually I'll do something fun with this little pumpkin girl and this little pumpkin head. Okay, let's get into finishes. This week I have 2 FFOs. One of them is something you saw a couple weeks ago, and it is Deck the Halls by the Drawn Thread. And this is a piece that my mom stitched, and I finished it for her. It's on this really pretty green fabric. She used a DMC conversion that she made up based on the colors in the chart. And it's so cute. And so I finished it into a little flat fold stand-up for her. And I used this pretty little red kind of Christmassy backing. And on the front, it's just the stitched piece over some batting and mat board. And then I used a Lady Dot Create super tiny, the mini chenille trim just to finish off the edges with a little ribbon for, what do you call it? I guess like the part that helps make it stand up so it doesn't, you know, I don't know, what am I trying to say? So it doesn't fall over, you know, so you have to have a little piece of ribbon here. I'm going to link, I know there's been some requests to show how I finish something like this, but honestly, I follow Vonna Pfeiffer, the Twisted Stitchers tutorial kind of to the T when it comes to making the actual board, this kind of stand up with the hinge. You can see how they're connected there. So I'm going to link Vonna's tutorial below. I might start doing, I don't know, I don't want to promise anything, but I might start doing some kind of like finish with me instead of like stitch with me, where I just kind of have the camera above me and you can kind of watch how I walk through things, even though they're not really my, you know, like I didn't make up the tutorial, like I follow Vonna's instructions, but maybe it'd be interesting to see how I finish things sometimes. So that might happen in the future, but for now, this, I will link Vonna's tutorial below because that's what I followed. My mom stitched this on a 28 count Monaco that I dyed green, and she used DMC threads that she kind of, there wasn't a conversion on the pattern, so she kind of made it up. But yeah, that's Deck the Halls. The next finish I have to show you is something I made last night, and it is this, a little fabric pumpkin. Oh my gosh, I love it. So, I don't know if you saw this week, but Celeste Creates released a video on how she makes her fabric tomatoes. And I was watching it and I thought, I bet I could make a pumpkin like that. So I followed her tutorial and stuck a cinnamon stick in the top. And I made a little pumpkin. And I love it. I definitely think if I do it again, I will stuff it a little bit more so there's not quite as many fabric wrinkles when I pull the DMC tight, but it's an excellent tutorial. You should go watch it if you're interested in making some little fabric decorations, either pin cushions or just, I mean, yeah, like this is so cute. I want to make so many of these for my entry table to go with my cross stitch pieces. It really honestly took like 10 minutes to make. Like the whole thing. If you have all the supplies handy, it takes no time to make these. So I love it. Yeah, that was my other finish this week because I didn't have any other cross stitch finishes, but I made a little pumpkin. Oh my the cinnamon stick. Yeah, it's great. Okay, let's talk whips. whips. I worked on a lot of things this week. I was all over the place. I had a little bit of a stressful, annoying, I don't know, I was a little stressed out this week. So I jumped around a lot and I just worked on whatever was gonna make me happy in the moment. And I have a lot of things to show you that I worked on. So I'm gonna start with a stocking. Posted a little sneaky peek of this on Instagram last night because I just couldn't help and it was looking so good. And here it is. Again, I'm still I was filling in a lot more of the details in this little stack of blocks and getting some back stitching in and just a little bit more colors added to Santa. Love how this is turning out. There is a little toy train that goes across here, and then there's like some more details over here in the toe, and then, oh my gosh, I'm getting so close to the end on this one. So yeah, and then of course I gotta finish off the top nameplate, but that's okay. So that's where my stocking is at. This is the Kooler Design Studio Heirloom series holiday study stocking that you can still get from Kooler's website, Kooler, Kooler. And I'm stitching it on the called for 25 count mushroom Lugana, 3/2, 3 strands of DMC over 2 as called for, and it's all the called for DMC colors. So I also worked on my drawn thread Almost Halloween this week. Love this, and I've seen so many people in the comments talking about how they had needed to go grab this chart. Yes, it is so much fun to stitch, so little, so cute, so many little colors and motifs. I love a drawn thread, so yeah, I had to work on this a little bit more because I want to get this all finished, fully finished by October to put up for Halloween. And here is where mine is at. I have basically Halloween. I'm just missing the H and the rest of my green glittery bow. Oh, you can kind of see how glittery it is. I started with my little specialty fiber there. And yeah. Oh, I love it. It's always so fun to see these on the camera. I swear they look better than in person. I'm stitching this one on 32 count vintage purled barley by Lakeside Linens, and I'm using the called for DMC colors and a little green glittery specialty thread. I don't think it's a called for specialty thread, but it is what it was included in the kit. And it's very fun. I've never stitched with this specialty fiber before, and they're, you know, slow going compared to normal cotton floss, but I love the little green glittery shiny effect that it gives. There's a couple stitches of it in the cat's collar as well. And I will be going back to backstitch the ghost and the W, similar to how I did the skeleton to kind of make them pop out more, but I just haven't done my backstitching yet. Okay, and then last night I really wanted to put a few stitches into my Santa's Trips by Barbara Anna, just because I love working with silk and it's such a cute design. And actually, another reason why I had to get it out is I was watching a new to me floss tuber, Michelle from Mama Loves You GB. I'll link her channel below. And she has a few episodes, and in one of her most recent ones, yeah, I think it was episode 3, she held up her Santa's Trips that she's working on, and she's all caught up. And like, you know, my jaw, I was like, oh my God, it looks good. I need to work on mine. So I picked this up like late last night and just put a few strands in, but I just wanted to make a little more progress on it. And let me show you what I got. So here's where mine's at. Just still on that first block. I love that border. Like, if this piece was just this border, I would still stitch it. Yeah. I don't think there's any chance I'm gonna have this done for this Christmas, but that's okay. I just enjoy working on it, so it'll get worked on as I have time. This is a 40 count piece of Lakeside vintage maple syrup. And I am using a conversion I made up. 1 second. To NPIs. It calls for DMC. And so I did a conversion to NPI. Kind of get all my colors together there. Yeah. Oop. Such a good floss tuber. Here are all my pretty colors. So excited to get some more done on this one eventually, but just had to put a few strands in last night. Okay, so now let's talk hashtag Sampler September. I had set myself some plans last week, and let me show you the progress I made. The first thing that I wanted to work on was one of my kind of long-standing sampler whips, and that was Plum Street Sampler's Blackberry House. And here is my progress. Love it. I completely finished the house down here and added some more letters and berries, and then just worked on filling in that gigantic never-ending urn. Oh, I'm not a fill-in person. I think I mentioned this on Instagram. Is that where you're talking about it? Yeah, that, you know, I just have to force myself to do the fill-in along with doing the letters and the berries and the fun stuff. I know fill-in can be like easy and meditative, but I don't know. I get bored too easy and I want to switch around. So I decided for finishing off this piece, I was going to just work right to left. And so I'm kind of doing, you know, just kind of going up and down and finishing all the stuff as I get to it, including there's like a big base of this urn right here that I'm about to have to start. So I'll get to work on fill-in while I'm doing some letters and leaves and berries done stuff down here that I think will keep me, you know, getting to switch between the fun stuff and the fill-in. So yeah, not too much farther on this one. Made some progress this week that I'm excited about, and this one will probably get pulled out after Sampler September to get finished up. So yeah. Oh, you might want to know what I'm stitching this on. This is a 40 count vintage light exemplar by Lakeside. That's just beautiful. I love these colors. It's again so fun to see it kind of on camera rather than just staring at it up close. Beautiful. And then I also had a new start this week. I started the Scarlett House and Topley 1802. Which is so cool. Look at all those bright, fun colors. I was posting some peeks of this on my Instagram stories, and a lot of you were sending me the, like, you know, big eye emoji, which I loved because, yeah, I'm like, look at these colors. So let me show you my start. We'll say I wanted to get more of this done, and I didn't because I got distracted by a lot of things. Here it is. Oh, that looks so cool. It's just so many bright, fun colors. I love that little rainbow alphabet. I mean, I love all of it. The dark fabric, so this is a 36 count Twilight by Weeks Dye Works. It's the old base, not Swaggart. And it hasn't been too difficult to work on. It's 36 count, so, you know, it's not a super tight, you know, 40 count, which I probably would have more trouble on. I will definitely say I'm a slightly slower. I do have to be a little bit more careful about making sure I'm going in the right holes, just because it's not a light fabric. It doesn't pop off at me like normal fabrics do. So I do have to have super good lighting and be a little bit more deliberate. It's not anything crazy that makes me not want to work on it. But yeah, so the dark fabric's okay. And I mean, it makes up for it with just like the way the beautiful colors just pop off this fabric. So I love it. And this one will definitely end up getting finished. No question about that. It's just, I need really good light and a little bit more of a deliberate mindset to, oh gosh, why did I start messing with my hair in the middle of a sentence? But I definitely need a little bit more of a deliberate and patient mind when I'm working on this one. But it is beautiful, beautiful. So those were the plans that I assigned myself, but then I also couldn't help myself and I worked a little bit on my Christmas garden. This is Christmas Garden from Blackbird Designs, and mine is in the Home for the Holidays book. And so Celeste and I are stitching this one together for the hashtag September Christmas Garden Sal. And she's been working on hers a lot this past week, and I got too jealous and I needed to make some more progress. So here it is. Oh, I just love this one. I can't wait to get back to this once I've made it through my Sampler September plans. I don't know, or maybe I'll just keep working on it every week as I can find time, along with all my other projects. I squeezed this one in, I think on Friday. I worked on this. I loved it. I am using sand, Picture This Plus 36 count sand, and I am stitching 1/2. And I'm using the called for brown and green, but I subbed Ruby Slippers and Bee's Knees for the red and gold. And I have all that information on my Instagram post where I shared my color conversion if anybody's interested. So that's my Christmas garden. So let's talk about my Sampler September plans for next week. This upcoming week, I want to work on one of my whips and another new start. This will be my third new start of Sampler September, which I'm having fun with it, but I did just do my whip parade and I have so many whips. I know not as many as some, but it's a lot. I try to keep mine around 10 and 12, or I have over the past few years, and it's kind of ballooned this year. So whatever, it's fine. I'll get them done. But yeah, the Sampler September is just adding to it and I'm okay with it. They're all beautiful. First, let me show you the whip I've picked out to work on this week. It's land that I love. I think I was mentioning in my last video that I was going through withdrawals from working on it. And yeah, this is by Teresa Kogut, land that I love. And I'm very much looking forward to working on this week. So pretty, so pretty, I love it. I know you just saw it, but I'll hold it up again. So yeah, this will get a little love. This is stitched on a 36 count limestone Zweigart that I overdyed with a little bit of brown and gray Rit dye. And I love how the colors pop on this. Yeah. This week's new start is going to come out of the Sewing Club book by Blackbird Designs. It's going to be my first Sewing Club project. I've had this book since close to when it came out, I think. So I don't know, 8 months ago. And I can't believe I haven't stitched anything from it. It is just beautiful. There are 16. There's so many good projects in this. If you love Blackbird Designs and you don't have this book yet, get it. So let me show you the project that I'm going to do for Sampler September. It is Tiny Treetops Rose and Thyme. Just this sweet little baby sampler. It's not a baby sampler, like for a baby. I'm just calling it a baby sampler because it's small. Okay, you get it. You get it. Yeah. Oh, I just think it's so beautiful. And I am going to be stitching this on the called for doubloon by Picture This Plus. I believe it calls for 32, but I'm going to go 36 count so I can stitch one strand. And I have the called for Weeks Dye Works flosses. So that'll go on doubloon. And I'm very excited to start this one this week. I also have the little pink drum from Sewing Club kitted up. And right now it's in the same bag because I just have all the Sewing Club stuff together. And oh my gosh, I want to start that one too. I want to do a little drum, but not yet. I don't have time. Oh, but look at these colors. It's like almost Christmassy. It's not a Christmas pattern, but like, oh, look at those colors. Someday. Okay, so that would take us to the haul portion of the video. And I'm about to blow your mind. I don't have any haul. I know, it's so shocking. After I went and spent hundreds of dollars at cross stitch shops and was sent a lovely package of charts, I decided maybe you don't need to buy anything this week. Maybe you have enough things. I did get one thing in the mail, which was some Lady Dot Creates, actually. I got this tiny chenille trim in the mail, but that was like $6.50. That doesn't even count. That's not even... But, I mean, you know, technically, yes, something did come in the mail to my house this week, this little trim, so I could finish off my mom's deck the halls. But other than that, I didn't go shopping. No haul. I think I might have something coming next week. Oh yeah, I have some threads for my last Sampler September start coming, so I can start that one. But yeah, maybe tune back in next week. Maybe I'll have some haul. Who knows? Yeah, so I think that's all that I have to talk about this week and share with you. Worked on a bunch of stuff, and next week will probably be more of the same. More samplers, more almost Halloween. I'll probably finish that. Well, I won't say I'm going to finish it, but you know, it might get done. I don't know. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in and joining me to talk about cross stitch. If you came over from Pam and Steph's video last week, I just want to say hi and welcome and thank you. Thanks for checking me out. Oh my gosh, I love Pam and Steph. It was so surreal last weekend. I put my own video up and I was on YouTube Studio, and if you upload videos, there's this kind of like little box that shows you subscribers, like who have recently subscribed to you. And I saw Just Keep Stitching. And I was like, what? And I clicked to make sure it was really them. And I was like, oh my gosh, are Pam and Steph watching my videos? How cool is that? And so I DM'd Steph on Instagram and I was like, oh my gosh, I just saw you're subscribed. You know, welcome. Thank you for watching. And she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we love you. We're catching up on your videos. And then later that night, I'm stitching and I turn on their most recent episode, and all of a sudden they're talking about me, and it was so surreal. And it was like the nicest, I mean, I don't know. It was so lovely. They had such nice things to say about my videos, and I was really appreciative. I'm sure you're watching Pam and Steph and Just Keep Stitching because, you know, they've got thousands and thousands of viewers. But if you're not, I'm going to link their channel below because you should definitely be watching Pam and Steph. They're just full of inspiration and hilarity, and, you know, I'm actually, I told my family and friends this, but I'm a little jealous of, you know, Pam and Steph and Priscilla and Chelsea and all the other people who have duos, you know, who have a partner to sit there and kind of bounce things up. Oh, Brenda and Laura, you know, how much fun would it be, I think, you know, to have somebody in person. Although if I had that, I probably wouldn't be talking to the camera, right? This is kind of my outlet and my way to share my love of cross stitch and share all my projects without just continuously blowing up my sisters and my mom's phone with, you know, ooh, look what I did, look what I did, look what I did. So I get to do that every week on YouTube instead, and it's so fun. So thank you for joining me, and I will be back next week with another Flosstube video.